In this video, I want to show off how you can make ultra hidden sheets in VBA, which you can use for something like making a drop down from a super hidden sheet so other people can't change it, or you can add an author stamp. Right now I have a sheet called my hidden sheet, which I haven't hidden yet, where I have values for drop down and an author stamp. If I want to add data validation, I go into the data tab, data validation, and then adding it. And I can say it's a list where my source is from another sheet. And it's nice to do this before you hide the sheet. The trouble here is that if I go and hide this sheet, if I'm the normal user, I can see here that there's a hidden sheet, and I can go down to the bottom, right click, say unhide, and I see that there's a hidden sheet. And you might not want your user to be able to do this. You could of course go into the review tab and protect the sheet. In this case, I'm not putting on a password, and this way the user wouldn't be able to change anything. But you might not want them to be able to go in here. You could have sensitive information. Alternatively, you could add this allow edit ranges, which is where I'll say that some people are allowed to change these ranges. For instance, the authored by cell, you have to type in a password. And when I then protect the sheet, I won't be able to do anything with these normal cells, but if I want to change this cell, I can if I have the password. This is a method to make it so people can still use the sheet, because I can make sure that some of these cells, if I just hold down Control 1, or I go under the Home tab and click this little button here to open up format, you can go under protection and say whether it should be locked or not. And if this is then turned off, then when you protect the sheet, you can say whether people are able to select locked or unlocked cells, and an unlocked cell, you're then able to input data. This is all fine and dandy, but right now people could still go into this sheet, and again, maybe you want to hide that. The idea I had to use this is if you make some training workbooks, you'd be able to add in an author stamp and then make sure that other people know you actually made it. And this brings me into VBA. If I open up the Visual Basic window, right now I don't have the properties pane, which I can get by clicking the view button and then saying properties window. And I can now see the properties of my sheets, which means that I have a sheet with the name here in parentheses called sheet 2 because it's the keyword. And this is something you'll want to use in VBA when you write code. Instead of referring to this sheet with its name, my hidden sheet, you can give it sort of an alias, which will only show up inside VBA. This way, a user can change the physical name of the sheet and your code will still refer to it properly. So this is superior instead of referring to the sheet by name. What I can go down here and see is that it has a visible property, which is called Excel sheet visible. If I change this to sheet hidden, it will immediately disappear. But this is the normal kind of hidden, where the user can still go down here and say unhide. When I then go back here in the VBA window, I can still select the sheet and I can see that it's hidden, and then I can make it visible again. But I can then make it extra hidden. And that's actually everything I need to do in VBA. You can change this visible property without changing the file type of the workbook from XLS to XLSM, which means there's no problems with macros being enabled. I can then close the window. And the nice part is, even though I can't see it being hidden, I can still refer to it. So this drop down still works, and I can still see it here when I go into data validation and I check the source. And likewise, I can also refer to anything in the sheet. So it was called my hidden sheet, and I believe it was C1. It was not C1. So now the unfortunate part is, in order to make it visible again, I do need to open up the Visual Basic window. So I will make this visible again. That's because I forgot. When you reference another sheet, you need that exclamation point. If we do it manually, it would just be equal, click the sheet, click the cell, and it types that in on its own. In the use case I came up with, I wanted to add my own stamp to the workbook. And at that point I could say, who made this? And then you can say, actually, I'm the one who made it because I know that there's a hidden sheet and it has a value in C1, which is then me who made the file. I'm sure there are other reasons you might want to do this, but adding an author stamp and a timestamp could be useful. So, yep,